So we're going to be looking at the ACE strategy or the ACE structure for answering questions or prompts. And it stands for answer, clarify, evidence, or example. And this is the way that we break down answers for all of our prompts and questions. And let's go over that right now. So as you can see here, we do have our three Hawk Talk cards that you will be using, which is the green, the pose card, okay, and that is connects with the A and ACE for answer. That is why they are both green. Then you have your second card, the clarification card, which is yellow. That connects to the clarify part in ACE. And you have a clarification card here. And then you have the E in ACE stands for evidence or example, and that is the Fortify, the red Hawk Talk card here. So if you don't have those cards out at the moment, please make sure that you have a copy of the cards either digitally or physically. We have a responding side and a prompting side, and we're just going to be at the responding sides right now. Here's the responding side for our clarification card. Here is the responding sentence starters for our Fortify card. So now that we have the three cards that we're going to use, as well as the sentence starters that we'll be using with them, we can actually go ahead now and take a look at an example question and how we can go about answering that using all three of those cards and the ACE strategy for answering questions. So we're going to use the question, something that you guys are familiar with, and that is, what do you think of virtual learning so far? And we can see that it actually has the word think in it, which matches up with one of our response choices for our sentence frames. And so we can actually start this with I think. And so let's go ahead and do that right now. And we're going to use a green pen just to color code it. And we're going to say, I think that, and that starts it. That's really your start. As long as you can get out that first bit of the sentence frame, you're going to give yourself some time to think about it, and you're going to start to formulate some ideas that you can actually put down onto paper, or in this case, onto an iPad. So I think that virtual learning is both challenging and rewarding. Oh, and I actually want to do something to make sure that the person who's reading this knows that I am answering their question. So their question also had so far in it. So I'm going to include that. I'm going to go ahead and say, I think that virtual learning is both challenging and rewarding so far. Or I could have said, I think so far virtual learning is both challenging and rewarding. But as long as we make sure to include the key components of our question within our answer, will be good. And what do I mean by that? I mean, look, we got think is here. We've got virtual here, learning here, and so far here. The rest of this, oops, don't want to use that. The rest of this is your thoughts and the sentence frame. So if you look at this, if you actually use what you're supposed to and you use all the words from the question to make your answer, you really only have a little bit of words, a little bit of thought that you need to put into that first sentence. And look, the only thing that we thought of is the stuff that is underlined and not highlighted. So I just thought of, hey, it's challenging and rewarding. But the rest of this comes from the question that has been asked, as well as from the sentence frames that are provided. This is not the end of your answer, though. This is a one-sentence answer and certainly not acceptable at the 6th grade level. We need you to be writing more. We need you to be clarifying. And that is really the second layer of this. So let's take a look now at the clarify card, okay? As you can see, it's making ideas clear. Speaking of clarity, let's zoom up and just take a look at what that says. This actually says clarity. Or excuse me, clarify, making ideas clearer, all right? So you go from this kind of non-shaded, super two-dimensional object to this three-dimensional block. When you clarify, you kind of take something that's not very well defined and you define it. You put all the necessary nuances to whatever it is you're doing in order to make it better and clearer for the audience. Remember, you don't usually just write for yourself. You write to be read or heard by others. So when you speak, when you write, it's usually not to yourself. You're usually trying to solicit some sort of support and or agreeance with somebody else or seek information, okay? And so we got to remember that when we talk or we write, it's not just for us, it's for other people, and we need to make sure that our words are clear enough for them to understand. So let's go ahead and zoom out of that and back to our response. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, and now we actually need to start the clarification process. And we have several sentence stems that we can start with. I like in other words, because you're literally starting off saying, I'm going to tell you what I just told you, but I'm going to say it in other words, in words that may carry more description and more detail. And that's really what you're looking for when you're doing this. You're really looking to take what you said in the pose, okay, I think, and you're really building off of that. That's why this is, I'm going to zoom in again, sorry, but if you look at this whole thing is a house, okay? By the end, you should have built a pretty solid structure, starting with a foundation of sharing your thought, followed by a clarification of that idea, and then the support. This final part here that covers the whole thing is our summary. We're not going to get into that now. Okay, we're just looking at posing or sharing our thought, our idea, building off of that by clarifying it, and then further supporting our thought with evidence from text or real-world examples, and we'll get into that when we look at our red Fortify card. So, what do I mean when I say I think it's both challenging and rewarding so far? Well, what I mean is, and notice that, I said, whoa, what do I really mean? I can actually use the sentence starter, what I mean is. What I mean is, virtual learning has many parts that are different and therefore difficult. But I am learning a lot. Okay, and actually, I could have made this 2 sentences, but I'm just going to do this guy right here. So, but I am learning a lot. And so, let's take a look at this with our trusty highlighter. Or actually, let me use the underlining. So, what I mean is, that was taken from the sentence frame, okay? The rest of this is my thoughts. So when you get into the clarify, you are going to have to use more of your own thoughts to explain what you meant in your pose section, okay? So you need to know and connect to that, because you are going to be using a lot more of your own words. As you can see here, most of this is just from my head because I'm clarifying what I said with these little bits of words here. Notice this is a lot less words, therefore a lot less detail. The clarification, the stuff in yellow, brings in more detail into what you're saying to the reader. Okay. Now, we're going to continue, and we're going to be looking at the red card here. So we're going to go super close, and this is, again, now the E part. Ooh, the E part of ACE, okay, which connects to evidence or example, and that is the red Fortify card in our Hawk Talk cards. And here is the corresponding response area. Okay, so we have, for example, according to, in the text it says that, an illustration could be. Well, we're not looking for expert opinion in this question, because if you look and we zoom out of the question, you can see it's really asking, what do you think? What do you think? Okay, it's not asking what somebody else thinks. So you're not going to use according to, because that's saying somebody else said it. It's not asking what it says in the textbook or an article. That one you would use in the text. It says that. It's not really asking you to find an illustration, okay, or any like sort of infographic that connects. So you're going to actually use what's called a personal example or personal experience. And let's take a look back at our Hawk Talk card. And if we zoom all the way in, you can see that there are three different pieces of fortification. There's three different main types here, okay? So one, we have what's known as textual evidence. And that is evidence from a trusted textual source, like a textbook or a scholarly article or a newspaper from a reputable newspaper company. We also have things like this, which are real world examples, not real world road rules challenge, but real world examples. I just dated myself, obviously. Real world examples, and those are examples from the real world. They may not have happened to you, but you have seen them happen to other people, okay? Or yeah, we can just leave it at that. And then you have your last one, which is personal experience. And personal experience is when you have experienced something yourself. It is something that you have felt, okay? You've gone through, you know it because it's happened to you. That is personal experience. I saw the hills over at Toro Park on fire and thought that I would have to evacuate from my home. That is a personal experience. I saw that. I know it because I saw it. I was there. So those are the three different examples. Just to kind of highlight those one more time, we got real world examples, okay? Anything that happens in the real world. We have textual evidence, things that you get from text, articles, could be something even that's been written into a video, okay? And then you have personal experience, okay? That is your own experiences that you've had. And those are all kind of things that they help to fortify or support the idea that you're putting forth. And let's take a look at how we can use some sentence starters to finish that. And so we looked at those examples and we kind of looked back at our various choices here, and we said according to is no good for personal experience, but we could use for example because you are giving an example of your personal experience. So let's go to red, and I will kind of go up a little bit more and we'll go ahead and start writing, and we'll go just starting with for example, so we're just going to say for example, and we're just getting that from the Hawk Talk card. For example, I did not know, I'm going to make sure you know that that's a W. I did not know how I was going to get out videos for instruction. But the more I make, the quicker I become. Okay, so really I am learning, all right? I am being challenged here, okay? But I'm learning a lot. I'm getting way quicker at video editing, and I wouldn't be getting quicker at video editing if it wasn't for the challenge that virtual learning presents. I'm challenged with the fact that I need to teach you guys, and I have limited resources to do so. So that challenge has caused me to rise to the occasion, and now I'm getting better at things that I was slower at before. And for me, that's rewarding, okay? Now, there's an extra layer here that we're not talking about that's very, very good at bringing the ideas together, okay? Taking all the ideas and then bringing them together, okay? But right now, we are not really going to go into that. This is just a basic 1, 2, 3, pose, clarify, fortify, a structure, okay? And we're not going to get into it. As long as you have all these components when you write an answer, if you have all these components, you got green, yellow, red, pose, clarify, fortify, answer, clarify, evidence, or example, you are good. You're going to have a really legitimate answer, and it's going to be accepted by most people. So if you can remember these three things, you can remember how to answer any question. Let's take a look, kind of zoomed out perspective here, and go over the components one more time. We have our ACE structure. The ACE structure, ACE stands for answer, and when we answer the question, we actually use the question, okay, as part of the answer. We rephrase the question so that it becomes part of the answer. Okay, and you can see that from our example, all these things highlighted in green, we actually used right inside of our answer. We only really took out the question words. We just said, okay, all these question words, we're going to take them out, and we're going to take out the question mark. All right? But we're going to keep all of the words that are left because we need to use those in our answer so that the person who's reading knows we read the question and we know what we're talking about. Let's go back up to clarify. Clarify is the C in the ACE structure. It stands for making things clearer, okay? You might say something in your answer that's really short, concise. Clarification time is when you get time to build on that. The clarify, depending on what you're talking about, could be multiple sentences, okay? If you're writing an essay, the clarify section could be multiple paragraphs because you're spending a lot of time to make your ideas clearer. So let's zoom out here and take a look at how that connects. We have clarify, making ideas clearer, turning that sort of two-dimensional object into a three-dimensional shape. Some weird artifacts left on this photo that weren't there before when we were looking at it. Interesting. Such is the digital world. And then as we go down, we see that the clarification really becomes a lot of our own thinking. This is our time when we can really explain what we mean. What I mean is, what do you mean? or take what we've said and put it in other words. All right? I'm going to zoom up to the evidence and example or example. Okay, and or example. The E in ACE stands for evidence or example. This is really important because with just these two here, that's just your thoughts. But when you bring in evidence or examples, you are supporting your thoughts. You're saying, hey, I'm thinking this, but it actually also happened. So, yeah. Let's zoom out and see how that looks together. We talked fairly quickly about all the different types of support that you can bring into your writing or speaking. We had real world examples, things that happened in the real world. We have textual evidence, things that you read about in the text or you hear in a movie that had been written in the script or a video or a documentary. And then you have your smiley face because you're so happy. Personal experience. If it's happened to you, you can bring that in to support your ideas. Okay? If it really happened to you, use it to support your ideas. Fortify your ideas with personal experience. If you can't find any other fortification type, usually you have either personal experience or real world examples. And then again, we looked at how we can actually write that in using these sentence frames, and we use the sentence frame, for example. I did not know how I was going to get out videos for instruction, but the more I make, the quicker I become. Okay, and so I just used for example. I brought that down here and made sure that I could use it. I wonder if I could just do this. Look, let's see. Yeah, so I actually got this, and then I brought it right over here, and then I think I can expand this thing. I think I have to zoom up. I'm taking too long to do this. This is not necessary, but I'm doing it anyway, guys. So I just wanted to kind of show that because I just thought that I could do that now. So for example, I just wanted to show that that actually came right from our Hawk Talk card. We didn't make this up. We didn't have to think about it. We just looked at the sentence frames that we have here. Okay, so I'm just going to read the whole answer together so that you guys get a feel for what it sounds like. And I'm going to use my handy dandy lightsaber. But let's go to the light side because, you know, I had it on Darth Vader. I don't know why. Or it could have been half of Darth Maul. I'm not sure. Okay, so what do you think of virtual learning so far? I think that virtual learning is both challenging and rewarding so far. What I mean is virtual learning has many parts that are different and therefore difficult, but I am learning a lot. For example, I did not know how I was going to get out videos for instruction, but the more I make, the quicker I become. So I hope that this is helpful for you, kind of understanding how to use the ACE structure to answer, and you can apply this to any time we have a constructed response that you need to create. Anytime there's a prompt or a question, you can definitely use the ACE structure to address all questions and prompts.